in my line of work, it's a sort of curious backwater scoring for films, because I just want to give you a sort of a tiny bit of a background. Unlike other disciplines in the arts, my field is one where, you say, right, you're going to write music for a film. But it's a medium that is so proprietary, it almost works against the creative process. Unlike painting, for instance, or even writing music, where you're not writing for film, you're writing songs. But almost any other art form, you create or can create a whole series of paintings, using that analogy for a moment, where it is each painting might be a small progression, but it's all part of your consciousness, it's part of how you look at the world, and it is there's no feeling of proprietary when you, for instance, get a commission to make a painting, paint a painting for somebody, a Monet, for instance. You go to an art gallery, and there are many Monets on display. Some of them have been commissioned, some of them are from private collections. Unlike that world, the film world is very proprietary. When I do a film score, I am basically nothing more than a fancy pencil for hire. I don't own any of the music when I'm done. It belongs to the film company. And likewise, when I'm done, even if I come up with something astounding that I may want to revisit as though I was a painter, and I say, oh God, I'm going to do another one right away. In the world of film composition, you can't do that because you don't own the creation. And therefore, each time out has to be a completely clean canvas, as it were. And if I come up with an interesting idea on film A and want to explore that, it's very hard to do that and bring it into film B without somebody saying, hey, that belongs to us, you can't do that. So my world is very, very closed down creatively compared to other disciplines, dance, painting, almost anything else I can think of, writing. It's just amazing. And with music, at least from my perspective, everybody feels that they recognize music, recognize themes, so everybody feels they always recognize somebody's style, or doesn't that thing sound like something else? And that's always part of the film world. And also, in my writing for film, you work for clients, because after all, I'm writing something, and it may be stunning to me, and it may be an absolutely wonderful reaction to the film I'm watching, but you're working for somebody and you're hired by somebody who may not share the same tastes, and frequently doesn't. And sometimes you get into situations where you think you've created, as I said, something lovely, and the person you're working for says, yeah, but can you make it a little cuter, or can you make it a little happier, or can you make it a little... And you always have to sort of keep in mind that no matter what you do, you really are working for somebody else and somebody else's tastes. And the whole art of film composition, for me, has become one of gentle manipulation, not only of an audience, but because that's my job, but also gentle manipulation of the employer, the director in my case, to accept ideas that he's never heard before and accept them as his own against an image that he's lived with for quite a long time. And if he's a writer as well as a director, it's something that he's dreamed up from day one. He's written a script, he's gone out and shot the film, and he puts the whole film together, and then he looks at me and he hires me, theoretically, and I look at the film, and he's trusting me to give a reaction as a bystander, as it were, somebody who's never been involved in the process, to look at the film and give my version of what I see. And very often directors will say, well, that's not what I had in mind at all. I shot it with this in mind, and I shot it this, and I shot it that, and I wanted this to happen. But when a bystander who's not been involved in the creation of making the movie looks at it, they have a whole different perspective. And it is not, as a film composer, you can't look at a film from the director's point of view. You have to look at it completely objectively, as though, because that's the only way I can react. So I give you that only as a brief, very brief run-out to what it's like in the film world, trying to compose for people who may or may not understand what music does, what film music does, and trying to make the whole thing work together. It's a very complicated process, and there's a lot of massaging that's involved, as you can imagine. And nowadays, with expenses being much higher, films being much, much more expensive than they used to be, the stakes are that much higher, and the nervousness factor on the part of employees is that much higher. Will it be right? Will it affect an audience a certain way? All of that. It's a very interesting sort of way to be creative against a medium that really doesn't belong to you at all, and you're just reactive to it.